What's up, sports fans? Welcome back. So the AFC West may be one of the most intriguing divisions in all of football. For years, it has been a one-man show where it's basically been the Kansas City Chiefs running the division. But now I believe that there are three teams that can legitimately win the AFC West. And then also, a lot of people are kind of high on the Raiders. I'm really not, but I could see their argument as to why they could be some sort of a spoiler team for the AFC and for the entire league. But as we head into the 2025 season, something just feels different where I'm not saying the Kansas City Chiefs may be dethroned, but I'm saying that there is a legitimate chance that maybe they could be dethroned. This division has gotten better year after year. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I want to break down each team, what they've added, what they've lost, and then I want to give a prediction as to the order of which I believe this division is going to end up. So let's just start it off. We're going to talk about our first team, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Los Angeles Chargers, who were going from flashy to physical, have finally cemented their identity, I believe. After bringing in Najee Harris, after bringing in Omarion Hampton, they are just going to go full-on, run down your face, just downhill running, try to wear out defenses, and try to win games on the ground. We don't really know what's going on too much with Najee Harris because we heard that he had that fireworks accident on 4th of July. I don't think we've ever seen like a picture of his face because something has to be like terribly wrong for the Chargers to not be releasing this information. But if he is back and he is healthy, even with Omarion Hampton just himself, they are now a dominant run through your face type team. And I think that's going to benefit them throughout the entire season, mainly towards the end of the year. So they bring in Najee Harris from Pittsburgh. They draft Omarion Hampton in the first round. And this is really cementing the style of football that Jim Harbaugh wants to play. Think of it whenever he coached Michigan when they won the national championship. They had J.J. McCarthy, who was a good, not great quarterback. And they won just by playing good defense and running it down your face. But they did have a quarterback who could also make throws. That's the same thing for Justin Herbert. A lot of people say that Justin Herbert is elite. I don't think he's elite. I do think he's in the upper echelon of NFL quarterbacks. But they have a run-style offense now. They have a quarterback who can make the big throws. There are just some challenges that may come with that. So they bring in Najee Harris, they bring in Mekhi Becton, which really solidifies their commitment to this run game. And we already knew that Jim Harbaugh wanted to have that type of style offense, but bringing in Mekhi Becton really just hammers that home. And then again, same thing, Omarion Hampton coming in. The dude was a bruiser at North Carolina, and now you have Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton. I think that is just great. A few departures, though, for them. They did lose Joey Bosa, who, again, I don't think is an elite pass rusher in the NFL, but he is, again, an upper echelon type guy. He was hurt a lot, but he did get a lot of pressure on the quarterback when it was him and Khalil Mack. Another problem that the Chargers may face is that their strength of schedule this year is very hard. It is one of the toughest in the league. They are facing an opponent win percentage from last year of over 500, and they have a very difficult stretch late in the season. But I do think that the style of play that they want to play will benefit them for that late stretch, because usually when you're seeing like December and January type games, the teams that are able to run the ball, play good defense, they're the ones who see success. I can see the Chargers being a B team of the Ravens, where the Ravens, they are just the elite of the elite when it comes to this style of play. The Chargers are looking to do that, which I guess it makes sense because that is Jim Harbaugh's brother, John Harbaugh, who is coaching that team. But I can see them, beating up on the teams like the Jets, like the Dolphins, teams like that, like the Raiders. But can their defense and their offense penetrate and beat these upper echelon teams? The Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs. So we will see if they can continue this style throughout the entire season, because they are built to make a late run in the playoffs. It's just kind of like, who do you run into, and are you able to one-up that team that you're playing? One of those upper echelon teams, the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, something like that. Another thing that I believe that is going to be a challenge for them is they have a quarterback who can make the throws, but can he make the throws when they need him to? Because I have a feeling that Justin Herbert is going to turn around and hand off the ball 25 to 30 times. Now, they did bring in a lot of new guys. They have Tyler Conklin. They have Trey Harris, who they drafted, who are good. But is Justin Herbert going to be ready when he needs to make the big throw after turning around and handing off the ball to Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, possibly 25, 35 times a game? We'll see if they'll be able to click. We'll see if the defense can hold up with losing Joey Bosa, because he was a staple on that defense. I expect them to figure it out. I expect them to be good on the defensive side of the ball, but they do play in a loaded division where offenses are going to be high flying. The Raiders, they now have Ashton Genty, but we'll talk about them later. But there's a lot of offense that is going on in the AFC West, and we'll see if the Chargers can hold up, and we'll see if Justin Herbert can make the big throws when he has to. And then the other thing is, can Quentin Johnston actually hold on to the ball when it is thrown to him? That is a big question as well. But I like where the Chargers are heading, and I think that they are built to make a run in the playoffs if they can avoid those upper echelon teams. Next up, we're going to talk about the Raiders, where their biggest addition, I think, this offseason was bringing in Pete Carroll. And I want to know, is this a culture change, or is this kind of like a quick fix that they're trying to bring in to fix the Raiders? The biggest thing for them also is that they brought in Geno Smith, so they have a new quarterback. He is their new signal caller. He is their veteran leadership. He knows Pete Carroll. He knows that offense. So there's not going to be a lot of division on that. They know what each other likes to do. They know how to run each other's style of offense. So I think that they will click in that fashion. Pete Carroll, he is a proven winner, but can he rebuild this team to get to a foundation where they can make the playoffs years down the line? Because I don't really expect the Raiders team to be this flashy team like you see the Broncos being. But can he rebuild this year and get them in place to be the Broncos of maybe next year or 2 years down the line? Now, again, they brought in Geno Smith, who does provide stability, leadership. He had good years with Pete Carroll in Seattle. But is he able to perform at a high level when he doesn't have the greatest players on the offensive side of the ball? They did bring in Ashton Genty, who I think that they may use him even more than the Chargers are going to be using Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton. I think they are going to work him and work him and work him. There's a reason he was the best running back in the draft, and they are going to turn around, hand him the ball, give him the ball in space, just little dump-off passes, whatever. They want to put the ball in this guy's hands. They want to do it early and often and open things up for Brock Bowers, who is one of the most elite tight ends in all of football. So they do have weapons. They just don't have the elite guys on the outside. But everything in the middle, Brock Bowers, they got Ashton Genty, hoping that they can give them the ball in space, have them make a play, and maybe be a spoiler type team, maybe knock some teams out of the playoffs, because I don't right now foresee this team being in a playoff position, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Some key things for them: they did lose Christian Wilkins for that whole story where he wasn't rehabbing his foot properly, but then we learned that there may have been some sus stuff going on in the locker room. That is alleged. The Raiders, though, do have the easiest schedule in all of the division. Their opponent win percentage last year was only a little bit over 500. So that is a huge factor. That could go on to them possibly being a spoiler type team, maybe even potentially pushing their way into a wild card, but I think that is going to be very difficult. The biggest challenge for them right now, it all hinges on Geno Smith, and if he can make what they have on the outside work, because they don't have the greatest players for wide receiver. They still have guys like Jacoby Myers, but they really don't have that number one, just deep threat that everybody is scared of. Right now, their number one guy is Brock Bowers in terms of a receiving threat, but Ashton Genty, I think he's going to just get 60% of the work in that offense, just because they drafted him high. They know what they got. They know what they want to do with him. And I think that they are going to just work him to the bone on the offensive side of the ball. And also, can this team recover after losing Christian Wilkins? There are rumors that the Raiders may be in play to potentially bring in a guy like Micah Parsons, because the whole trade rumors with him. in Dallas. If they could bring in Micah Parsons, that might add 2.5 wins to their win total. Just because Max Crosby and Micah Parsons are getting at the quarterback, they're going to steal a game or two or even three with a team like that, with a defense like that. So we'll see if they make a trade like that, because that would be absolutely huge. But as it is right now, what can they do losing Christian Wilkins, only having Max Crosby? They do have other good players on their defense as well, but I think it's just going to come down to the fact that they're going to be able to play good defense, not great defense. And I don't think their receiving core is really going to be able to help them out enough when they are playing these elite teams that are able to lock down a tight end and able to load the box and stop the run. You play a team like the Ravens, you're putting Kyle Hamilton on Brock Bowers, and then you're loading the box to stop Ashton Genty. Can the guys on the outside do enough to win them a game? I don't know. We'll see. They could potentially be a spoiler team. I don't have the highest hopes for the Raiders this year, but, you know, they're looking to change the culture, bringing in Pete Carroll, bringing in Geno Smith. Those guys know each other. They know how they want to play. They know how they want to operate a system. They could make a splash. They could do something. They can maybe push their way into a wild card. They can maybe be a spoiler, but as of right now, I don't have the highest expectation for the Raiders. But that is kind of hinging on do they trade for Micah Parsons? Because if they do, I believe they are a wild card team. But who knows? Who knows? We will see later down the line. So that is my prediction. Not my prediction. That is my rundown of the Raiders. And we're going to be moving on to the Denver Broncos. So the Denver Broncos, I believe, are poised for a big jump in the AFC West. They had one of the best offenses in all of the division last year. Bo Nix looked pretty well, and he is getting another year in a Sean Payton system, and they made key additions to both sides of the ball. They are bringing in receiving threat at tight end Evan Ingram, who is filling a huge hole in that offense, and he's going to be a possible staple piece for a Sean Payton scheme. They brought in Dre Greenlaw. They brought in Talanoga Hufanga. The Broncos are just doubling down on high-impact defenders. They brought in Jahdae Barron to already be in a defensive system with Patrick Surtain. I think they have the best defense in this entire division. And they bring in a powerful runner when he's healthy and J.K. Dobbins to partner up with R.J. Harvey. People thought that he was going to be able to be the starter in that offense. Then they bring in J.K. Dobbins. They have a pretty good tandem, though, at running back, and then also Evan Ingram. I really like what is going on with the Denver Broncos, and again, just another season with Sean Payton working with Bo Nix. I think that they are going to be scary this year. They do lose Javonte Williams. I don't think that is such a huge deal, considering they bring in J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, considering if J.K. Dobbins can't stay healthy. I do like what Harvey can do. Denver has the second easiest schedule this year in the division. The opponent win percentage from last year was .505, which is just a little bit harder than what the Raiders have to deal with, but it's not that big of a jump. The biggest question, the biggest challenges for them is basically Bo Nix. Is he ready to take that second leap? I don't expect him to be on a level of a Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, but can he get to that level of Tua, of Justin Herbert, of I don't want to say Aaron Rodgers, but you know, Aaron Rodgers can make those throws. Can Bo Nix make the big throws in the big games? They are stacked everywhere. They have a legitimate franchise quarterback right now, as it seems. Will the offensive line hold up to keep him upright? Will he be able to make the big throws? And will they be able to break on through to the other side? Will they be able to break on through and really compete with the Kansas City Chiefs? Because they got dummied last year in the playoffs by the Buffalo Bills. That just shows that they were not close to the upper echelon of the AFC. But after another year, another offseason, is Bo Nix able to really push them through to the upper echelon and maybe squeak their way through the playoffs? You know, I don't expect them to be the top seed in the AFC, but can they beat a top seed in the AFC? And if they do that, can they make a run to potentially make it to a Super Bowl? Because they have a stellar defense. They are getting better on the offensive side of the ball. I really like what I'm seeing from the Broncos. The biggest question is just Bo Nix. Is he ready to take that next step, or is he going to be in a sophomore slump? We've seen it with quarterbacks like Cam Newton, these guys who had elite rookie years. Now, I'm not saying that Bo Nix had a Cam Newton type season. He had a very good season, though, but will there be a sophomore slump for him, considering that all these teams now have tape on him? We will see, but I really like what the Denver Broncos have done this year. And then finally, we are going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They are still on their dynasty. They are the kings of the division, but I think they are vulnerable. The Chiefs are not without question. They lost some major players this offseason, but, they still have their best players in the world. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Chris Jones. They still have Travis Kelce, and that's kind of all they really need to really take that next step. They're getting Rashee Rice back. Who knows what's really going on with all that legal stuff. They have another year with Xavier Worthy. They still have Travis Kelce, where even though he's getting older, he is still one of the elite tight ends in all of football. They still have a very good defense. They are bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster. He is a good option, just a physical target who can get them the reliable yards that they need. They're bringing back Kareem Hunt to go with Isaiah Pacheco for some much-needed depth. They brought in Jalen Moore. They brought in Josh Simmons, who was possibly the best tackle in all of the draft because they got dummied in that Super Bowl by the Eagles. They really overhauled their offensive line. Even though they lost Joe Thuney, they are still bringing in some critical and crucial pieces to protect Patrick Mahomes and hopefully keep him upright. After Patrick Mahomes had a down year for his standards, it was still very good. He still had a very good year. But for Patrick Mahomes and for Kansas City Chiefs standards, it was still a down year, and yet they still made it to the Super Bowl. Now, the key departures for them, they did lose Joe Thuney, who is a massive blow to their offensive foundation on their offensive line. And even though they didn't have him for very long, DeAndre Hopkins is gone. That is kind of a big hit to their receiving core, but not really because Patrick Mahomes can kind of get it done with anybody as long as you have Travis Kelce and then some sort of just deep threat in that offense. The Kansas City Chiefs will be perfectly fine. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, do have one of the toughest schedules in all of the league, where they have a win percentage from last year that is on par with what the Chargers are facing, a .522 win percentage from last year. And they have an unprecedented amount of primetime games early this year. So on the biggest stage, everybody's watching. Can Patrick Mahomes get it done in those primetime games early in the season? I think they'll be perfectly fine. I don't think the time really matters for this team and for Patrick Mahomes. The biggest question mark for me going on with the Kansas City Chiefs is basically their offensive line. They have new guys. They have guys who have elite potential. They're just not there yet. They're still young and they got to learn this new system because they got to go against elite pass rushers in the AFC West. The receiving room, they're getting back Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice. They still have Travis Kelce. But can they maintain that high level of production throughout an entire season that we expect from the Kansas City Chiefs? And will they, have a Super Bowl hangover? Not that they won, but they've been to the Super Bowl how many years now over the past 5 years? Is it going to start weighing on them? Will they start facing the mental capacity of like the downfalls of losing the Super Bowl and people really pointing and laughing, being like, you can't do this again, you can't make it, and even if you do, you're probably going to get dummied by the Eagles. It's a lot that they're going to have to do. They've made deep runs. A lot of them are probably still hurt and tired because of that. And then you also have to add on the added wrinkle that at any time, Rashee Rice could get suspended, which would be a huge blow to their offense. Yes, they lost him last year due to an injury, but, losing a guy that you're spending all of training camp with just in the middle of the season, that's a huge blow. Will they be able to sustain their offense while losing Rashee Rice if he does get suspended? Before we get to the final rankings, I want to give a big shout out to Underdog Fantasy. And when you use my code HMM and you sign up for Underdog, you're going to get up to $1,000 in a deposit match. Plus, you can get a free 0.5 pick, which is basically a gimme pick. So, during football season, you're going to get Patrick Mahomes only needing to throw for one single passing yard and it'll win. Yes, you can get that just by signing up for Underdog using my code HMM. During football season, I just spam entries. I love underdog so much because you can win up to 999x your money just on one single entry. That is absolutely insane. Imagine putting down $10 and winning what? 9,000? That would be freaking crazy. So yes, sign up for Underdog, use the code HMM. You're going to get yourself up to $1,000 in a deposit match. Plus, you can get a free 0.5 pick. Thank you so much, Underdog. I love them so much. Code HMM. Here are your predictions for the AFC West. So we'll start it at the bottom of the division. You know, I talked about it. I don't really have the highest expectations for them, but it is the Raiders. I know that there are a lot of people who are high on them. I just can't see it right now. They have a really a lack of receivers. And when they start playing these upper echelon teams and even teams that are competent on the defensive side of the ball, you know, all you got to do is cover Brock Bowers really well, which it's easier said than done, and then load the box and try to stop Ashton Genty, which again is also easier said than done. The dude was facing loaded boxes his entire career at Boise State, but this is the NFL. It is a different monster. So I think the talent gap from the Raiders to everybody else is just way too large, and I think that they're going to be last in the division this year, but they could play spoiler and knock some teams out of the playoffs or just be one of those annoying teams that you don't want to play because their defense is just so good. And if they make a trade and get Micah Parsons, who knows? They could make the playoffs easily because that would just be an insane tandem of Max Crosby and Micah Parsons, but we will see. But as of right now, I have the Oakland Raiders. I wish they were still Oakland. I have the Las Vegas Raiders as last in that division. At number 3, I am going with the Los Angeles Chargers, and this may be a surprise for somebody. You know, Harbaugh is really making a tough, down-nose, just run through a motherfucker face type team, but I feel that with the tough stretch that they have to face towards the end of the year and some of the questions that they have on defense, I think that's going to really hurt them towards the end of the year, and they're going to be in like a decent spot towards the beginning of the year, but when they face that gauntlet, I think they're just going to start dropping games one week after another, and they're going to start falling and falling and falling, and I do think that they are going to end up third in this division. While I like what they're building on the offensive side of the ball, I have a little bit too many questions about them on defense, and then they just have a tough stretch right now, and they are not at the level of a Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are facing a very hard schedule, just like the Chargers are, but the Chiefs are just built different. They are built a lot better right now than the Chargers, so I have the Chargers being third in that division. At number 2, I have the Denver Broncos, which obviously means at number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs will be battling all year for that number 1 spot, but I have Denver at number 2 just because of the Bo Nix factor. I think he's going to have some sort of sophomore slump, and there are going to be some games where just that elite defense is going to be able to bail him out, but there are going to be some games where they just can't, and I think that Bo Nix is going to take he's going to have some games where he takes that leap, and then other games where he really falls back. I think those games where he's playing elite defenses, he's going to take a step back. I don't see them as one of the upper echelon teams right now. We saw it in the playoffs last year where they got bullied by the Buffalo Bills. They lost 31-7. They are not on the level of the Bills. They are not on the level of the Chiefs. They are not on the level of the Ravens. It is going to be tough sledding for them. Playing teams that are in that upper echelon, and right now I have the Denver Broncos finishing second just because I think Bo Nix does take a step forward, but I think there are games that he does take a step back, but that defense is absolutely disgusting, and they can win them games for sure, even if Bo Nix isn't on his A game every single week. Which means, number 1, I still have the king of the division being the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, they are vulnerable. They really are. But as long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you have Travis Kelce, you have Chris Jones, you have Andy Reid, it's really hard to match that championship pedigree that they put on year in and year out. While I'm not saying that the Kansas City Chiefs may win the Super Bowl, I have them winning the AFC West again. It's going to be tough sledding. It's going to be a dogfight versus the Denver Broncos to really win that division, but I do see them pulling away. I do see them winning that division by maybe 2 games, potentially, but Kansas City is the best team in that division, but I think the margin every single year is getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, where, I think that there is a case for three of these teams. I think for the Chiefs, the Broncos, or the Chargers, they can all rotate and win this division, but as of right now, my prediction is that the Kansas City Chiefs, they are in a different class of teams, and they will be winning the AFC West this year, with the Denver Broncos not far behind. So that is my prediction for the AFC West. That is my rundown of every single team. What are your predictions for the AFC West? I would love to hear what you think, and let me know which division you would like to see me talk about next. I would like to break down like the entire playoff picture at some point as well. Hopefully when we get through like every single team and every single division, we could do like a full-on prediction about the NFL season. But let me know who you think is winning the AFC West. Let me know the order of which you think the division is going to end up. And hey, if you like videos like this, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and hit the thumbs up as well. It really helps me out a ton. Check out our podcast, The Hail Mary. We are on Spotify and YouTube. We post that every Monday and Friday. And follow us on all of our short form platforms as well. We post videos on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We post YouTube shorts. Check us out everywhere. I hope you guys really like this video. And again, let me know your predictions for the AFC West and who we should be doing next, what division we could talk about next. So let me know that in the comments. And hey, have a beautiful day, everybody. I had a brain fart there, but hey, have a beautiful day, everybody. Hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.